In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to convert an older version of the PowerPoint file into a newer version one so that we can use accessibility checkers embedded in the newer Microsoft Office 365 to help to make our presentation more accessible. So this is one of the examples for my lecture notes. And this was created in an older version of the Microsoft PowerPoint. And if you look at the accessibility, you will see it's unavailable because in the newer version, you can enable the accessibility features in the file options to enable accessibility checkers automatically in the document. So when you're creating a presentation in the newer version of the Microsoft Office, you can use the accessibility checkers to help you while you are creating the slides. So now this older version cannot be checked for accessibility because you will see there's a symbol here says accessibility unavailable. And how do I do that? How do I change that to enable accessibility checker? So you click accessibility checker, and then it gives you the option to convert your file into a newer version of the presentation file in the Microsoft PowerPoint. So let's convert that. And I want to save it in the same place. And later on, you want to make sure you delete the older version, but be sure to check the date updated because you don't want to accidentally delete the newer version in your File Explorer. So once I convert the document into a newer version, you also want to check the document to make sure, because sometimes when you convert, the tables and other things would shift, and you don't want that to happen. So double check to make everything is good, because sometimes I noticed when you mark things, like for example on a chart, you have some polygons and some boxes and arrows, etc., trying to mark on top of the chart. And then once you convert the older version to the newer version, you will find out actually the format has shifted. So fix those mistakes for the newer version before you publish, and for sure after you do the accessibility checkers. So this is the accessibility assistant, and you want to make sure this is not show only issues on current slide, so you don't turn it on. If you slide to here, you only show issues on current slide. So if you disable this, all the issues will be listed here about your accessibility. So it's not too bad because this document, I do not have a lot of images. But if you have a lot of images, it might be an issue because the alternative text here, you have to really create a lot of them, depending on how many images and the media sources that you have and the illustrations. So look at the list here. So it looks like the color and contrast is okay. Sometimes it's not, but would give you suggestions here. And then you just click the suggestion and change the contrast. However, if it's a scanned image that you cannot edit, it may be an issue. So If that's the case, you may have to recreate the table or trying to find a sharper image or try to process the image in other software to make the color and contrast sharper. But if you created the table in the PowerPoint, you can actually change the font color to make the table have better contrast for colors. So media illustrations, it looks like my older version, I did not have the alt text. And then you can just click it, and this would give you something you can describe it. Try to make sure describe as detailed as possible if you can. And I would say, for example, this formula illustrates the Riley's law of gravitation for market break point. And if you want a more detailed, you can describe, okay, the PI, PJ, DIJ, and BI, and those detailed information. So the more detailed, the better. And for the illustration purposes, I'm going to just stop here. So you click Save. And then the next one, you can say this formula demonstrate the example of using Riley's law of gravitation to calculate the market breakpoint. Again, if you want a detailed information, please feel free to put it here. And then save it. And then this is pretty much just, I feel it's decorative, so I'm going to mark as decorative. This is also decorative. I'm going to mark as decorative. And this is another formula to calculate the market break point. Okay. So you save it, and looks like then I have all the alt text defined. And then you look the table header. It's always a good practice to insert headers for all the tables. So I'm going to use insert a header, just define the table. Okay, and then use a merged or split cells. And just remember, accessibility, you don't have to make it all of those suggestions to correct them, because sometimes you feel like, okay, you don't need to really do that. Okay, so if this is the case, you may have to, change that. But I feel like it's, I have to keep that. I want to keep that. And then we can see how later the accessibility score would be like. So I'm going to leave that as the way it is. This is a missing slide title. So this page does not have the slide title. And then you want to add the slide title. Like, for example, I want to say example of market breakpoints for an outlet mall. Okay, so you may have to adjust this a little bit to make the title fit better. Accessibility requires each slide to have a title. Sometimes the older version, the titles cannot be recognized. And then that means you have to really correct them one by one to approve that the title in the older version is actually the title. So accessibility assistant would help you to do that. You just have to do it one by one to approve. Like, for example, sometimes the title like this would not appear as a title in the newer version after you convert. And then you have to do it one by one to over there in this reminder to set up the slide title. Okay. So now I get this taken care of. So you want to format that to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, and then let's see what else, slide title. Okay, so this is missing. I'm gonna add another slide title. So again, I'm gonna adjust it a little bit. So I'll just say the supply and demand, retail supply and demand. Analysis of retail supply and demand. And you put her, make it thicker, make it a little bit smaller. And then approve it. This, I want to just set it as the title, okay? So set a slide title, approve. And now let's look at the checker and have duplicate slide title. If that's the case, you can keep it or to see if the accessibility score increases, or you want to just keep it the way it is, okay? So I'm going to keep the way it is, and later on, if it has an issue, I'm going to come back and just add, like, for example, understanding market conditions 1, 2, 3, 4, because I want to use the same title. And let's look at those, okay? And then I want to keep the duplicate slide title. The reading order, check it out and to see, what is the reading object reading order, and make sure picture 2, text box 4, and title 1, you might want to add it. Like, for example, I want to move up. Okay, now the title looks okay. So let's see this one, and I want to check the object order. So this is that. This is the mixed use development, and I want to move that a little bit up. So now it's okay. And let's look at accessibility assistance to see what else needs to be fixed. I'm going to keep those for now because I feel like it's important to use, sometimes you have the same title across different slides, and I want to make sure it's okay. So now let's see, and we just save it. And also I'm going to export that to a PDF file or whatever file you want, and then you can just upload that to whatever the file you want to have. Okay. So this concludes my video about converting an older PowerPoint file into a newer version so that you can use the accessibility checker to reconfigure the accessibility elements to make the document more accessible. I may have some other documents about and videos about accessibility reconfiguration, and so please stay tuned. Thank you very much.